Good morning, everyone. How are you today?
Good morning.
All right. My name is Naushad. I'm 26 years old. I am an ex-pupil of Centenary Secondary School. I matriculated in 2012, so I once sat where you're all sitting right now, grade 9, 10, I'm sure. And I have been reading and writing from the age of 5. So from the age of 5 years old, I was always in the library. My parents took out library cards for each of them and myself. So on each card, you can take out 8 books, which you can borrow for 2 weeks, am I right? So I used to borrow 24 books, and in 1 week I used to read, and it used to be returned. So I used to read a lot. And through reading so much that I started to come up with my own little ideas in my head. But you know, when you're 5 years old, you have childish ideas, you know, so I used to start writing before I even started going to school. Stories of talking dinosaurs and kids going on a voyage to space. But then, obviously, as I grew older, I matured. Even at 10 years old, some people may not believe me, I wrote a Western novel at the age of 10 years old, which was something unheard of. But then I got older, and then in grade, I believe it was December 2011, it was my grade 11 December holidays, I came up with the idea of Race Champ. Now, how that idea came about was actually being in this Asherville Library. I picked up a book, it was called Hover Car Racer by Matthew Riley. And it really conjured up my imagination. So I started writing out my whole idea. In 1 month, I wrote a 3-part story, just in 1 month, before I went back to school in January and completed my matric. And then began a long 8-year journey of trying to get published. So while it was easy for me to write, because of continuous reading, and this brings back to what all the speakers have said here today, is that libraries matter. Because if it wasn't for libraries existing, honestly speaking, I would not probably be standing here today and speaking to all of you with a book that I've published. So it's all thanks to libraries, and I'm grateful that libraries still exist even in this technological age where everyone, I'm sure each of the students here have a phone and you're always on your phone all the time. But if it's not for libraries, like Vanessa said, you know, where would all that information come from on Google? It had to come from research in a library. So that's why libraries matter to me, because a library is what grew me up. I was always in the Asherville Library right from the time I was 5 years old. Even to this day, I still do come to the library. You just don't see me that often, but I do come here a lot. I read, I pick up books. So after finishing my matric, I got a job, you know, just to get month-to-month sustenance while I published my book. Now, a lot of people, maybe after 3 years or 5 years of not getting published, they probably would have given up, you know, and put it aside and said, well, it's not going to happen. I was not going to be that person. I was not going to be that statistic. I kept going on. 8 years it took me to get published, but I eventually did it, you know. I went to publisher to publisher. I got rejected over, like 40 times maybe by different publishers. And I'm talking about publishers, even the books, textbooks in school, you'd see Penguin, Mammoth, all those companies. I got turned down, but I didn't let that affect me. I still pushed forward. So, like you guys said, some of you guys here want to be lawyers, doctors. No matter how long it takes, keep going. You are going to achieve your goals. So that's how I came to publish Race Champ Part 1, The Oval Tower. It's actually my first book. And really, it's a story that anyone can pick up. And it's a story that's targeted at you guys, teenagers, because I know a lot of you guys here would like cars. I'm sure, you know, you see that lovely Porsche driving down the road, you say, oh, I want that car one day. Well, you keep working at it, you become a lawyer, you become a doctor, you'll be able to afford that car one day. And it's a book that's full of action, it's full of romance, comedy, anything and everything you could ever want from a book is in this book. Now, like I said, it took me 1 month to write all 3 parts. Obviously, this is the first volume of what is said to be the trilogy. And it took me 8 years to get published, but I didn't give up. So what I'd like to do right now is just read the first chapter of the book. I'm not sure if you'd like to pass out some of the copies to the children and they can read along with me. I'm just going to read to you guys from page 5, chapter 1, just to give you a little bit of an insight of what Race Champ is all about. It was a bitterly cold winter night, but at the Oval Tower, things were just about to heat up. The Oval Tower was an independent racing circuit, named so because of its oval-shaped track. This is where many hopeful rookies got their start, with the hopes of becoming world racing champion one day. The arena had plenty of seating and always pulled a good crowd, which sometimes hid secret special guests, such as big league managers and agents, who would usually call up rookie racers to race in the world championship scene. They were only interested in those who showed promise. Exhaust fumes filled the air as the crowd cheered loudly at the sound of revving engines. It was time for the youth exhibition race. 4 vehicles lined up at the starting line. In a flashy red import was Ryan Rhodes, the local favorite. He was a rising rookie star on the racing circuit. Next to him, in a big green SUV, was Eddie Wheeler, a former gangster from the hood, who gave up his gangster ways to pursue his lifelong dream of a career in the world of international pro racing. Lined up next to him was the sexy biker chick, Selena Pretorius, on her seductively dark superbike. She had all the men in the arena staring in her direction. Next to her, in a white 1990s second-hand sports car, was Jason Woods, a passionate young racing hopeful who loved racing more than life itself. He sat in the car that his father handed down to him on his 17th birthday. Jason was a young guy, just out of high school, who was extremely passionate about racing. As Jason's eyes were fixed on the track ahead, he thought back to a couple of weeks ago when he was reading a local newspaper and came across an advertisement that caught his eye. It was an invitational vacancy for aspiring racers to send in their CVs for the opportunity to start a career in pro racing. Jason just did that, and days later he got a phone call notifying him that he could come in for an interview that morning. The president of the Oval Town, Neville Short, who was indeed short, interviewed Jason. He told him that this youth exhibition sprint race can serve as his audition, and told Jason that if he impressed him, he would offer him a contract to regularly race at the Oval Town and begin his pro racing career. So this was a do or die situation for Jason. It was now or never. There were a few whistles from the crowd as a woman clad in only a bikini with checkered flag designs and black high heels with a checkered cloth in hand stepped onto the track in between the vehicles. Suspense built as she raised the cloth high up, followed by all 4 vehicles revving their engines, releasing fumes from their exhausts. Then, in one swift motion, she brought down her flag, and the 4 racing machines sped down the first straight, leaving the starting line in the dust. So that's a little bit of what I wanted to read to you guys today, just to give you a taste, an idea of what Race Champ Part 1 the Oval Tower is all about. So just like you guys, I was in Centenary, I sat where you sit, and I pursued my goals and my dreams. So all of you here, you have a goal, you have a dream, don't give up, no matter how long it takes. It took me 8 years. Don't ever give up on your dream. Keep pursuing it, and one day you will reach to where you want to be. Thank you.